12 o'clock. Keep them coming in, please. They're fun. 85058, or you can WhatsApp. Yeah, that's for the text, or you can WhatsApp 08085 909 693. 11:42. A new film will be available to be seen on the iPlayer from this weekend, and it tells the story of 4 women, all of whom survived one dangerous man. And these women joined forces to put him on trial and bring him to justice.
He seems like a really nice guy. Polite, nothing out of the ordinary.
He was the sun. I just revolved around him. Things that you could never imagine happening, never imagine agreeing with. The strangest things become normal when you know Aaron Swan.
So Love and Lie Predator is on BBC Scotland and the iPlayer from 9 o'clock on Sunday evening. It's also on BBC2 on Monday at 9 p.m. Jenny, Natalie, Shannon and Robin have waived their right to anonymity in order to tell their story of coercive control by serial predator and sex abuser Aaron Swan. I get now to talk to the film's director, Marta García Aliaga, and Natalie, who's one of the women telling their real-life story in the film. Marta, Natalie, hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Marta, I watched this yesterday. It's an hour and a half of very, very, very powerful testimony and shocking at times. And actually, I will say to our audience, there will be some sensitive and distressing subjects brought up in the next 10 minutes or so. So if you've got sensitive ears with you, young ones, you want to step away for 10 minutes, please do. Just what I really do want to get into the weeds of this film. Marta, what is the film about? I've given it kind of an overall précis, but tell me in your words what it's about and why you felt the need to make it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Naga. That was a brilliant intro to it. It's essentially, as you said, the story of 4 different women, all of who were abused and coercively controlled by the same man, sometimes at different times, sometimes overlapping as well. It has a series of incredible twists and turns through which they all end up coming together. And after having tried individually to bring him to justice and not having managed to because of various failings, they all come together, as I say, join forces and do indeed bring him to justice and put him behind bars. The film centres their voices. That was, I was really, really passionate. We all were from the very beginning to make sure that it was told in the women's words and that their experiences were reflected as accurately as possible. It's not your typical true crime film. I cannot stress that enough. I thought it was a really important film to make because I still don't think we quite understand coercive control and the insidious and very complex ways in which it works. And I really do hope that through, the candour and the sincerity of Natalie, but also of Jenny, of Shannon and of Robin, lots and lots of people will be able to understand it a little bit better.
Let me find out how all these 4 women, Natalie, you included, morning by the way, how you got together and how became part of this. So Natalie, I suppose it would be worth starting, and in as much as you want to say, and I'm sure there is far more to what happened to you than that is in the film, what was your relationship with this man like, Aaron Swan like?
Yeah, so the film covers from his abuse of me through to his abuse of Robin, which spans 20 years. So there's a huge amount of story there. As you say, it's an hour and a half film. You could probably make 7 of them with all of the information and all that took place. So I met him when I was 17. He was 17 too. We were both in Scarborough in the north of England. And from the moment that I met him, I thought that he loved me. He spent every waking moment with me. He kind of suffocated me into believing that I couldn't live without him. And very quickly I was pregnant. He wouldn't use contraception. I think we don't talk enough about how much teenage pregnancy is linked to coercive behaviour sexually that men and boys perpetrate. And so I ended up pregnant by the time before I was 18. And then we got married very quickly. Part of that was because I came from a a committed Christian faith background, and so felt this pressure to get married. And this was in 2003, not the 1950s, but that sense of, I need to make this relationship work. That was a time where there was a lot of real stigmatization of teenage motherhood, of single mothers. And so my relationship with him then unfolded into what was very, very dangerous. He was very harmful, very sexually abusive. I left him when I was 21, when he assaulted me, and my son was born 3 months premature, and we had to move to live in a hospital with my 2.5-year-old daughter. And so that circumstance is what enabled me to leave him. I didn't become strong and empowered and think, right, that's it, I'm leaving you. It was circumstances that forced me out of that situation. And as a result of my son's premature birth, I reported him to the police. And
that was enough, wasn't it? That was the final straw for you.
Yeah. So he was found not guilty of the offences against me. I then managed to move on. I was really in a blessed position that so many women aren't, that the family courts didn't give him access to the children. So my life moved on. I began to work to make a difference in other women's lives, and then got catapulted back into what he was doing in about 2019, when my then 17-year-old daughter contacted him on social media. And that led me to become connected with Jenny, who was at that point estranged from him and had reported him for offences as his then wife. And so that then brought me into contact with the other women in the story. And then that unfolds, as you see in the film, with what happens next.
Did you, I mean, it's you, Jenny, Shannon and Robin eventually who come together. How easy was it, you guys coming together? Because obviously what you had in common was at some point realising that you had been under coercive control and abused by this man. But that doesn't necessarily make you friends, first of all, does it?
No. So we share 6 children between 3 of us. So we have an invested interest in our children having the best lives they can. So I think for me, there was something about, how do I ensure my children have the potential to have positive relationships, but also they're absolutely incredibly brilliant women. Every single one of them, I love them to pieces. We're in the process of getting a matching tattoo because we just love each other. And I think some of what emerged is that we had experienced the same thing from the same person, which brought us into that relationship. And actually the relationship between Jenny and Shannon is because they were best friends, and Aaron deliberately sought to prevent them being friends. And so I think there's something really precious about them being able to reestablish that friendship. And they are beautiful and hilarious and brilliant in the way that they are friends. And then I think for Robin was in a relationship with Aaron while he was in a relationship with Jenny. And one of the tactics he uses is to pit women against each other, make women hate each other. That we often don't understand that adultery and infidelity is part of abusive behavior for many perpetrators. It's a way of controlling and manipulating and degrading and violating women. And so that there's something really powerful about us loving each other and caring about each other, because that's what an abuser wants to do, is destroy relationships and resources that we have, and relationships with other women is a big part of that. So we really, really do genuinely love each other and care about each other, and they are genuinely brilliant women. Absolutely. We could have not got on, but we actually do. So it's been one of the beautiful things about the documentary, alongside being able to do it and make a difference through it, is that we've been able to hang out together, and that's brilliant as well.
Good. So Marta, how did you get them together for this?
So it's pretty much 2 years to date, actually. I think I read about parts of their stories online a couple of years ago, and as a journalist, as a filmmaker, right away I knew there was something incredibly powerful in it. I also thought, it has a potential to be a story that inspires, but also makes lots of women and people feel hope because of its outcome. It's, I suppose, positive outcome in the end. So I found Natalie's contact details online and reached out to her. And we had a really lovely conversation, and that just sort of started snowballing it all. We had lots of different meetings, the 5 of us, I suppose, in which we started to get to know each other and to try to understand, how they wanted to approach it. I tried to explain how I and the entire team would approach making this film. And obviously also really worth saying, it was amazing to obviously get the BBC support pretty much right from the get-go. Tom and David, our commissioners, who have been absolutely brilliant collaborators throughout.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to get things made, however brilliant the idea is. I mean, that's its own journey in itself. Natalie, you were saying at the start of this that you've used your own experiences to support survivors of domestic abuse in your career as well. And I'd like to, actually, we've had a text, and it's not diminishing anything that any of these women have been through, but it's a good point. They haven't left their name, saying, hello, it's so important to highlight coercive control. However, could you please acknowledge that though it may be overwhelmingly perpetrated by men, it isn't always. Otherwise, this can inadvertently contribute to hiding the minority cases when perpetrated by women. I speak from personal experience. Yeah, absolutely. Coercive control, full stop. Disgusting. But Natalie, you are using these experiences to support survivors. What are you doing?
Yeah, so first of all, I wrote a program for young people about abuse and exploitation to help, everybody that I spoke to. And I think all of us were teenagers when we met Aaron. And so I wanted to start off by enabling us all to have better conversations when we all say, every woman I spoke to says, why didn't I know this when I was 12? Why did it take me to know about this being bad when I got to being an adult? And so I wrote something called the Day Programme, which still exists. And then I began to develop a course for women who'd been subject to abuse, and felt there was a real need to ensure that we learned a lot about the stuff that currently wasn't really being given access to women. So I wrote something called Own My Life, which is a 12-week course for women, and over 20,000 women have now attended that course across the UK and Ireland. It's run by some amazing local organisations all over, and women repeatedly tell us about how transformational the course has been. And it's been so amazing to be part of this film and to see that sisterhood of women through the film. And Marta's been incredible. We all really love Marta too, and we love the team. And that this has been a real labour of love for everyone involved. It's a really, really precious thing to have been part of, and I feel really excited to see how many more women are enabled to recognise what's going on in their lives. And I think within my work also, it's been about how do we support family and friends? How do we support everybody, work colleagues, because we all know people who have been subject to abuse, whether we know it or not. Lots of people may be sat here thinking, oh, I don't know anybody. Oh, I'd never let anyone treat me like that. And actually what this film enables people to see is maybe even the person who thinks, oh, I'd never let anyone treat me like that, might actually be treated in ways that we could categorize as coercive control, and they just haven't had a name for it. They haven't had a framework for it. So a lot of what I've done for my whole working life around this has been, how do we give women words and language and frameworks and ways to make sense of what's been done to them, to give it the name abuse, to give it the name coercive control. And then once we know what it is, we can do something about it. And that's what's often been missing, that we don't even know what this thing is. And there is a myth that people who are subject to abuse know that's what's going on. And actually most people don't. So I hope that when people watch this, it will maybe give them a sense of, oh, that's what the name of it is.
Absolutely. Natalie, thank you very much. One of the women in this film telling their real life story, and Marta, García, Aliaga, thank you for making this film. What I will say is I watched it yesterday evening when I knew I was talking to you both. And it's not an easy watch, but it's a very good watch. And it's an important watch, I think. I should say Love a Liar Predator is on BBC Scotland and the iPlayer from 9:00 on Sunday evening, and it's also on BBC2 on Monday evening at 9 p.m. Do take care, both. And I should also say, if you've been affected by issues in that discussion, there's a range of organisations and websites which offer advice and support listed on the BBC's Action Line website, bbc.co.uk/actionline. 4 minutes